Hi guys, it's great to see you. As usual, I am River Lee. I want to welcome you guys to this week's episode of Grow Wealthy Grooming. So as you guys know, too many groomers own a job and not a business. And at Savvy Groomer, we teach pet professionals how to make simple changes in their business to grow a business that is successful. At Savvy Groomer, we know you want to be the savvy pet professional with a business you can be proud of. In order to do that, you need to know how to manage your business so you can own a business and not a job. The problem is you hear lots of advice that doesn't actually make a difference, which makes you feel frustrated, overwhelmed, and like a failure. You've been putting in the effort, but you don't have anything to show for it. We believe no one should have their dream fail. I understand. I had to learn a lot of my business knowledge the hard way and from outside the grooming industry. I currently use my expertise to work with clients internationally and have a proven track record. So what we're going to do very simply is break down the amount of profit you're going to earn per pet. Now, these are all going to be rough numbers. These are all going to be vague numbers. So I want to start with, I did a couple of different numbers, and if you guys want to see different numbers, let me know. So this is an Excel spreadsheet and it already has the math done for us. So right now, this person is charging $35 per pet, and I know we're like, that's really low, but I'm sure that is some of you guys' pug baths, some of your lab baths are $35, and these are all percentages. But I want you to think about, okay, so overhead, and let's start defining our term. Guys, overhead is the bills the business needs to pay. So this is your rent, this is your, most of the time this is also going to be your shampoos, anything that you're purchasing for the business. Other common things are reoccurring bills. This can be scheduling software. As you guys know, I am a huge fan of 123 Pet, and I also have a code. If you guys ever want to sign up, please use my code. That helps me support this channel and continue doing what I'm doing. But with that, anything that you're going to be paying towards the business, I would consider overhead. And we can get much more nuanced with this, but for a simple live demonstration, let's just stick to talking about basic overhead. And then next, I want to talk about taxes. So depending upon where you are, now these taxes, what I'm talking about are just you paying the government off of your bills. For the most part in the US, you're going to be paying anywhere between 10% and 25% in taxes. I'm a DBA in New England. I pay about 20 to 25% of my gross income into taxes. In some of you guys have lower, and this is going to be between state and federal. Knowing your percentage is helpful. I generally tell my, personal finance on a leash students and my business coaching students, I tell them to put 25% away because I would rather give myself a taxed refund at the end of the year versus having to owe a large amount. Now, I didn't say that I overpaid my taxes to the government. I personally hate trying to convince the government to give my money back. So I definitely have them quarterly. They give me an estimate and I estimate on the low end because I have that fully fund amount of money in a separate savings account with that 25% that I immediately put into the tax bracket. Now, when I put payroll cost here, again, you can see payroll costs versus wages. Now, for payroll, you have the payroll company, you're going to have workers' comp, and you're also going to have your state and local taxes. So where I'm at, it's a minimum of 10 to 15% between paying for the payroll company, workers' comp, and the actual taxes I have to pay as an employer. I've seen people as high as 20 to 25%. I know California is an example of a state that you can pay a large percentage. Now, obviously, and this all depends upon how much your business is making, what you're writing off, and all these things. And again, that's why I hate getting into really specific numbers, because the best person to tell you what your percentage is going to be is either your enrolled agent or your certified public accountant, so your CPA or EA. And everyone should ideally have someone who's going to be doing at least their taxes. I personally really prefer people outsource your payroll, outsource your bookkeeping, outsource your taxes. You should know the basics of it so you can double check and make sure everything looks well. But trying to do the numbers for your payroll, trying to do the numbers for your bookkeeping, it's just a lot of effort for not paying someone a lot of money. And especially because I use 123 Pet, it's really easy for me to pull those numbers out, and I actually get them on a spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet is easily to put into QuickBooks, and then that's all in one, so I don't have to worry about it. And then my bookkeeper basically double checks everything and puts everything in the right category. That way it's easy to check for tax time. So that's what I mean by payroll cost. And again, it's generally a minimum of 7%. I've never seen it, and again, I don't know about you other countries. For the most part, I've never seen it less than 7% that you're going to be paying in employment taxes. And again, I know this is technically not correct because again, we really should be taking this 10% of the actual wages and not of the gross profit of the pet. But let's just make everything simple. And this is not a calculator to figure out exactly how much profit you're going to be making. This is, again, a basic baseline to get a vague idea of what we're going to get. And if you guys do want a real breakdown and all of that, I would really suggest that is part of my business coaching, and that is way more intense because we actually look at your projected numbers and things like that. Now, wages, again, I have this in a percentage. I know we always talk about 50% gross profit. What gross profit is the money someone hands you. Net profit in this instance would be the money over here, where after you've taken out all of the overhead, the taxes, the payroll costs, the wages, the owner draws, how much money is left. So this is gross profit over here, how much someone pays you, and net profit is how much you've made after everything. So wages, I'm looking at, if this is 50% of gross profit, then we would know how much this person is being paid. So let's say this is somebody paying 50% gross profit. So 50% of $35 would be $18. And we're actually gonna give it 2 zeros. So it would technically be $17.50. So right here, we can see that this person making the pet making $35, this person would be making $17.50. Here, after adding in all of these percentages, they've allocated 90% of their profit, 90% of the gross profit to all of these things. And then what's left is only 10%. And so their profit on this $35 dog would be $3.50. So I'm going to just copy and paste this all the way down as these numbers go up because it's only 10%. If this person only charged $35 per pet, they're going to be making a profit in this example of $3.50. And then if you'd say that dog is an extra $15, they've only made an extra $1.50. And that's kind of insane when you guys think about it. You could be charging $15 more per pet and making that. But what I'd like you to see is now if I drop this down to 40, they've doubled how much they made. Now watch that again. By having 20% left versus 10, they've made an additional $5 in profits. They've doubled their profit. And the same thing here. See here, guys? So they went from 50% making $10 to $20 here. And it makes a lot of sense because you're making an extra 10%. And even then, 20% left is really not a lot, especially because this tax rate here, you know, like I said, my tax rate is around 25%. So I generally groom cats at around $100 a cat is my base pay. So let's say, you know, now this overhead is pretty low percentage because this is assuming that I'm only paying 15% of $100, which is $15. I'm pretty sure per pet, depending on how many pets I'm doing, I'm probably paying more than 50% in overhead, especially if you guys have debt. Keeping it under 15% overhead is really good. And I'm assuming if you have debt, it's probably more than that. And again, like I said, 15% in taxes. I actually put 25% taxes away. Now, if I put 25% here, and let's say I was paying 50% in that wage, now I have no profit left. I literally made no money. Now, right here in this example, I don't have any money. And that's at 15% overhead. So I'm assuming that this overhead, I'm not having any debt. I don't have a lot of money, you know. And then here, this is high tax bracket. This is very common if you are in California or if you are in a New England state like I am. The payroll cost, let's even put that down to 7%, assuming that I'm just paying their taxes because they have to be a legal W-2 employee. Now, out of $100, I'm only earning $3. That is my net profit. Now, let's say if you're ever read the book Profit First, what they suggest is you put an owner's profit first. It would be 1%. You know, the first thing you should do is pay yourself for owning a business because again, you know, if I was paying myself in a CD, my CD would literally be like 1 or 2%. You can get online bank accounts that pay you 3% on your money. So from $100 to $2. And again, let's go back to this $35. You know, we've got the 15% in overhead. Let's look at 25% in taxes. We'll bring this down to 7% of payroll costs. Like I said, I've never seen it less than 7. You know, that's low. They make $1.50. Oh, and I need my dollar owner draw, my 1% owner draw rather. That is 70 cents. Let's keep the same overhead, taxes, low payroll, which I know the payroll cost is low. Wages. Let's change the wages to 40. Hey, did you guys see that? Now I've gone from 70 cents to 420. It's a huge jump. In a perfect world, what you should be keeping is all payroll wages under 30%. So let's look at these numbers again at 30%. Now, at 30% wages, which is ideally what we should have at a service-based industry, your profit is 7.7 versus the $100 having a groomer at 50% is really only making $2. That's crazy. So I would make more money grooming 35, well, not the groomer, the business owner. And again, I am looking at this completely from a business owner standpoint. I am not looking at this from an employee standpoint. And we could talk more about employee standpoint. I really believe in hourly for employees to keep payroll around, but let's just look at this from a completely business minded. If I go from $35 and I'm only 30% as a business owner, I'm making way more profit. So that's where you see a lot of places like, I know like we have, everyone talks about PetSmart, Petco and how they pay 50%, but that's because they don't care. When they have those $35 bath specials, they don't have any extra they might have, let's call it 5% overhead, because that 5% overhead is because they're already they already have the shop. Petco, PetSmart already has the building. So they have a little bit of stuff for their shampoos. They have a little bit of money putting and investing in that. And then yes, they probably pay a lot in taxes because they're a corporation. Yes, they probably have a lot of payroll costs, probably even more than that. So let's call that even 10. So they're still making $310 because our overhead is at least 15%. And again, we're talking about whether or not we have any debt. And 15% is really before you have debt. Oh, see, that sucks. Where a lot of times we have to do the math to see if our business is viable. So in this instance, this person's charging $35 per pet, but how many of you guys are doing pugs, chihuahuas, lab baths? Some of you guys are even doing groom dogs at this price. And you're like, oh, 15%. If you do not have any debt, then I would at least like to see this money, if you have no overhead, I would like to see this money set aside towards savings, towards updating, because, believe it or not, like you might have had this dryer for the last 20 years and you think it's never going to kick the bucket. Eventually you're going to need a new dryer. Eventually you're going to want to invest in something like a Prima system or another bathing system or a hair vac or clipper vac. You're going to want to invest in things. You're going to need money to invest in that. So if you don't have overhead and you don't have debt, then you're going to need money to grow. And that's where that money would come in. And taxes are only going to go up. I wish I could tell you they're going to go down, but they're just going to keep going up. This is where a lot of people will scrimp. So they will have overhead because they'll have rent and things like that. They won't update and they won't have any savings. So they will do their best to cut taxes. So they will probably either not file taxes or they'll hide cash, which is up to you as a business owner. I don't want to personally get caught by the IRS. That's not my shtick. Or they'll have illegal independent contractors and skip the payroll costs. So they're not paying this, because if I take away this, now I'm making all this money. So this is where you'll see a lot of people saying that they have independent contractors and they'll basically tell you that they can't afford it. And they're absolutely correct. Because if I keep the same overhead, the same in taxes, the same payroll, there's no payroll cost because they are not legally having that employee, they just have them cash under the table, then that means that they are earning $3.15 per dog, versus if I take this up to 10%, where they're paying the taxes and they're also paying the workers' comp, you can see now they're losing money. Okay, and let's take this. This is the same here. If we look again at, per pet, if I take this up to 50, we're at $5, right guys? And again, watch the payroll go. So basically, a lot of people would rather pay their employees illegally and give them an extra 10% and then take that 10% out of paying the employees' taxes and things like that. The bad thing about that is they think they're doing their employees a favor by letting them, quote unquote, keep all of their money and go through the rigmarole of having a business and writing things off. The problem is that when you have an independent contractor, the problem really becomes with somebody who's an illegal independent contractor, because there's almost no chance of having a legal independent contractor in the grooming industry. The people that are literally the people that rent a grooming salon within a doggy daycare, rent a grooming salon within a like a pet store. Like basically if PetSmart or Petco rented out their little unit, that would be its own business. But you have to, again, keep the businesses separate. So they can't book you clients. They also can't book, share clients. Like you can advertise with them and they can advertise with you, but you need separate books, separate systems. You need to have your own phone number. You need to be running all your credit cards. You pay them a monthly rent. They do not pay you. Like you don't, basically it has to be a landlord situation. So I generally tell people, they'd be like, why aren't I my own business when I'm an independent contractor? And I don't want to go too far off the rabbit hole with this, but this is so important. So you are not an independent contractor if you are not paying a set flat rate to your landlord. And you might be like, that doesn't make any sense because, so legally, if I'm renting you guys know the little shopping malls. Let's say I rent one of the units and there's 4 units. Do people call me the grooming salon or do they call my landlord to book an appointment? They call me the grooming salon. Whose name and number is in front of that building? It's my name and number, right? It's not my landlord. My landlord doesn't have them call, let's say it's, Fluffy Realty. They don't call Fluffy Realty to book an appointment with me. They don't call Fluffy Realty to do anything with me. They don't ever deal with my landlord. They only deal with me. Anytime you want to know if something is a legitimate, independent contractor versus, I don't want to say illegal, like basically it boils down if you want to be a W-2 or an independent contractor. Independent contractor is if this was a landlord in a small building, like what do they call them? Storefronts, plazas. Is that the way they're acting? And if you're asking that and you're saying no, then it's not. And that's kind of annoying because obviously you want to do what's best for you and find a job that pays well. But as business owners, we have to protect ourselves and they are coming for us. I mean, you guys saw the Uber and Lyft problems that are happening in California. It's just going to get more common. And the days of illegal independent contractors is coming to a close. It's going to end. So that said, with the payroll cost, we are going to have to, as business owners, get real about hiring people. The reason you can't give people 50% of gross wages is because you can't afford it. You just can't. It's so bad for your business. Let's go back again. So let's look at even the high point. So let's say here, taxes at 25%. Again, that's high, but that's what I tell everyone to do. We're gonna talk about 15% overhead. Again, that's low. That's assuming you have low rent. Because again, we're talking low rent. We're talking, you don't have a large loan or anything like that. 7% payroll cost is literally just what you will pay in taxes for your employee. And again, if you're at 50%, now this right here is on $100. You as a business owner would only keep $2. That is your net profit. You just had a $100 doodle, or for some of you guys that are doing $100 Newfoundlands, so you had the $100 Newfoundland come in, it made it blue hair all over your shop. And that means that you are only getting $2 in profit. Now, really quickly, let's look at it if you were paying your employees 40%. Now you've made 12. You have gone from $2 profit to $12 profit. And this is where it matters. And again, so I don't know of any business that is service-based that pays more than 30% of gross profit to payroll. And even then they try to keep it lower, but they say 33, but I'm just going to round to 30 because easy math. So let's look at it 30. So remember 40% was $12 profit. At 30%, they're earning $22 profit. That is a huge difference for that business because now this money can either go to paying things like debt. This can go to things like a savings fund. This can go to things like updating. This can go to things like making your employees have paid vacation, healthcare, retirement. So again, this is where the business has to make money. Also, what's really nice about this is instead of paying your employees 50% gross profit, how about giving you a little money? Now, you just lost $2 here, but that $2, that's an extra 4% that you're making to go in your pocket for all the hard work that you do, for all the extra hours that you are working that you're not getting paid for. And this is for all of the time and energy that you spend in your business and you don't actually get a paycheck a lot of times. And I'm not saying you're not getting paid for grooming, but I don't think you guys are paying yourself as a marketer. I don't think you're paying yourself as somebody who is doing all of the reception work. As a mobile groomer, I tell people all the time that they'll tell me like, oh yeah, I only work 40 hours a week. And I'm like, I really doubt that because when I first started my mobile business even, I had scheduled myself 35 hours a week and that included runtime and grooming and all of that. And you know what I found was a little crazy was that, I really thought about, if I'm grooming 35 hours a week, then I'll only spend 5 or 10 hours a week, doing other things. I thought like, okay, I'll only do another 5 or 10 hours a week doing receptionist work and bookkeeping and this and that. And most of my stuff is pretty automated. Most of my stuff is, like I said, I use 123 Pet. I really love it. I can just put that right into QuickBooks. I can, most of that other stuff, like the way I have my customers like that want to get to know me, the way I have that is all automated. I have them fill out a form and they send it to me. I don't have long phone conversations until I have that form with prospective clients. So I automate a lot of my business, and it still takes a minimum of 10 to 15 hours, because that is not, you got to think about cleaning the van, doing towels, doing marketing, doing outreach to the local community. When you're calling veterinarians to check on vaccines, like whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to be spending more time. So with that, I want you guys to remember that, because a lot of times you think that you're not doing a lot, but you really are. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's good that you're doing a lot with your business. The tough part about that is the fact that you're going to burn yourselves out. I just wanted to point out that the different in percentages, the 50%, how bad it is for your business. And as you can see, very simply, if I bring this to 30, I like 1%. So if they only had 50% overhead, only had to pay 50% taxes, probably someone in South Carolina or Tennessee, your payroll cost, your wages at 30%, 1% owner draw, they're making pretty decent. They're making 29% profit, versus here, they're losing money, versus here where they're making 10%, And again, like if this person has to pay more in taxes, if they were allocating taxes like I suggested, they'd be making zero profit. And I think that is the main thing I need to point out to you guys is, again, I understand these are very rough numbers. These are very simple numbers. But as you see very clearly, this is something where you can easily see that it's hard to make profit when you give them 50%. If I did this, again, from 50 to 30, at least it's $10. At least it is 20% profit, which, the business has to make profit whether or not you're working in it. That is the point of a business. A business needs to make money. A business is in business to make money. If you are running a business like this one right here, $50 groom, 15% overhead, 25% in taxes, 10% payroll costs, 50% in wages, no owner draw, that means 100% of it is allocated to just running the business. This is a hobby. This right here, this example of a profit, this is someone's hobby. This is somebody who is doing something for fun. This reminds me a lot when I was breeding and showing labs and I basically broke even. This is a hobby. This is a business. See this, guys, where it's 30%, at least 1% to owner draw. This person's making 29% profit. That's a business. Here, again, 30% profit. Now, I would like to see them have an owner draw, but even if they use this extra bit of profit to pay off debt in their business or start setting up an emergency fund, I wouldn't be mad about that. But there you go. That is a business. If you are making less than 20% net profit, and again, I'm assuming net profit if you don't have a lot of debt. If you have a lot of debt, like I said, I opened my grooming van and my grooming van had a lot of, my grooming van, because it is $100,000 purchase, and grooming vans are generally between 75 and 100 grand plus. It's going to be a lot of debt to take on for the business. So it is going to take a long time to pay off. So your business may not technically be profitable, but once you pay off that debt, you're going to be profitable. Or once you put away your savings, you're going to be profitable. I just want to share a little bit with you guys. I do have a payroll cost estimation. As you guys can see, this is a payroll cost estimator. This is something I've been working on a little bit. And this is to tell how much I would pay an employee. And it really does suck for some people that are slower, or if you have lower price per pet, because like this is an example of somebody, if they have an average price per dog, I said how many average number of grooms per day. This is somebody who's a slower groomer. I'm a slower groomer. I really can't do more than 5 dogs a day. And how many hours are they spending grooming that day? How many hours of non-essential grooming tasks? And this would be very much me. I'm a neat freak. I focus a lot of my time on cleaning. So, when I have time to prep, I'm probably prepping at least 30 minutes before and at least an hour doing. And then how many days do they work per week? And then I would figure out how much income they brought in per day, how much they brought in per week, and then also how much they brought in per month. And I personally would do 2 weeks of paid vacation. Again, if you have 30% is where you're with your payroll, you should be giving your employees 2 weeks paid vacation. That is very fair. You will have enough meat on the bone if you do this properly. So what are they actually bringing into the salon? They're bringing in $62,000 a year, and they're bringing in about $5,200 a month. If they're working 40 hours a week, and the average hours is $167 a month, then that means that the amount of money they make me per hour, the gross amount of money they make me per hour. So remember, before I take out all of my stuff, is $31.25 an hour. If they're earning me $31.25 an hour, that's not a lot of money, guys. Like, everyone talks about how groomers should be making $20, $25 an hour. Well, if you're only earning me $31 an hour, I can't pay you $20 an hour, $25 an hour. This groomer's got to get her ass in gear. So either she's got to up these grooms. So let's say instead of 5, let's say she does 10. Okay, so now this groomer's grooming 10 dogs a day at $50 a dog. You know, and let's say she's really fast. So she only needs an hour doing non-essential tasks. So she can groom 10, she's like Wonder Woman. She can groom 10 dogs in 6 hours, and half hour before her shift, half hour after her shift, works 5 days. So she brings into the shop $500 a day. Well, okay, so if she brings in $500 a day, I can't give her half. I can't give her $250. You think that makes sense, but it doesn't. She brings in about $71 an hour, you know, a little less than $72 an hour. Again, I have to keep it under 30%, so 30% or lower. So she would be making, so this groomer here, yeah, she's making $21 an hour. This groomer here is making me money, and therefore I can do this. Now, this groomer also gets 2 weeks of paid vacation. So this groomer gets to go to the Bahamas for 2 weeks and get her pay rate. That's very generous. And this allows this business to grow, to sustain itself, and do what it has to do versus cutting corners and failing. I know that it's not always, I know a lot of what I have to say is not always the most popular. It kind of sucks because I wish I had all the things I could tell you that would make everyone happy and sunshine and rainbows. But unfortunately, numbers don't care about our feelings, and the numbers are there. I've been grooming over 10 years, probably closer to, I don't want to age myself, but almost 15 years now. Their pricing hasn't changed much. You know, we used to charge $25, $30 for a lab, and a lot of shops are still charging $25, $30 for a lab. The pricing has to come up. It has to come up. And if it does not come up, then you have to figure out where else you're going to do it. Because if you keep cutting out the money in your business, either you're running a hobby, you own your job, and you're subsidizing. That's another thing too, is a lot of times groomer owners are subsidizing their employees. So the money, they're paying themselves 50%, and that money that they're making when they're grooming is free money. I hate when people tell me like, oh, it's free money because the money everybody else is free. It's like, no. Because if that groomer gets bit by a dog really bad, if they get bit by a dog really bad, that's your business. Like, you're going to be in the news about this groomer got bit by a dog. What if they can no longer work? So they get bit by a dog, they're going to need surgeries. They're going to have all of these problems. And guess what? That's your business. That you have to deal with all of that. And now you don't have someone to work. It's not gravy money. You need to have money to deal with things like, let's say an employee, God forbid. I'm sure you guys saw that terrible accident where that table malfunctioned and crushed a dog. That is no one's fault. That is, it's the manufacturer of the tables, but it's horrible. And if that was one of our shops may have closed because of that, because people are crazy nowadays. And so you would lose everything, and your employees will just pick up and go work for somebody else. And I know it sounds really nasty, but it's not meant to be. Employees can pick their stuff up and go work somewhere else. You are putting in all of that effort, pain. I mean, if it doesn't work, that's your business. I know a lot of times what we are doing in this industry, we are just doing because it's what we're told to do, but no one in other industry is telling people to do this. We are good, kind-hearted souls, and because of that, you know, I know when I've had employees, I've said, these people, I have to keep food on their table. I'm here to help them, and it's absolutely true. What's not true is my business is not open to keep people employed. I have to keep my business open to keep them employed. You know, but I'm not keeping my business open in order to pay their bills. You know, in the sense that I didn't open a business to help other people like that. But if my business closes, they're going to have to go somewhere else. And, you know, it just makes things complicated. So, you know, I want to thank you guys so much for being here. I do want to welcome you guys to consider joining my membership. My membership is called Grow Wealthy Grooming. We have one small fee per month, and right now we are working on foundational members. In this membership, we do work on things different each month in our business. It's one thing to tackle. That said, because it's a low monthly fee, you have access to these things forever. So you're able to go in each month and work on what you want to work on and not worry about whatever it is that you don't want to work on. For example, our first month will be February, and we will be working on organizing our business, thinking about, again, the things that we haven't thought about in a while and organizing them. And again, right now, I don't even want to say how much the low introductory price is for a foundational member. I would just go to the website because the price is so low for the first 100 customers. After that, it's going to be doubling and then eventually tripling. So I would really suggest, if you're interested in becoming a foundational member, I want to welcome you, and I would really do it because the truth is it's going to go so quick, and I'm really, really, really excited about all of this. If you guys are not ready to join me in my membership or my online course or as a business client, I really enjoy being here with you guys each week on this show, Grow Wealthy Grooming. Anyway, guys, I've had a great night. I can't wait to see you next week. Happy grooming.